Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artist Empire here, and in today's Fun Scroll Saw project video, have another amazing and unique design to once again show off the Scroll Saw's amazing versatility for making unique projects. The design in question is going to be a miniature compound cut puzzle box, so really cool. And the design in question comes from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. The issue in question is Spring 2009, issue 34, so please keep that in mind if you would like to go back in your archives and make this project. And the project itself is the cover photo there, so really neat. Easy to make puzzle box. Indeed they are. They do not take a lot of time or material to make. The design and article in question starts on page 32, and you see a nice picture of a box there made. And before we even get started, I want to give a thanks to Carl Taylor for an amazing design. Secret Chamber Puzzle Box. So really neat. That is indeed what we are making, and it has a great article on all the cuts you need to make to bring this box to life here. And on the final page of the article you have the full pattern itself, and that is indeed the full pattern, my friends. It's not even as big as the palm of my hand, so really neat. I've already made one of these off camera to kind of get familiar with the process, and it is right here, and you can see this is the full size of what we are going to be making today with the material I have prepped in front of the table saw here. So really neat. And as you can see, the lid of the box will not come off if you pull it up. The whole feature for this is that heart-shaped key there, so really neat. And the box will not open until you remove that little heart-shaped key there, and then the lid will of course slide open, and you can see the cavity within where you can put a bracelet, a piece of candy with the heart shape. It could be maybe an engagement ring or a special ring to a loved one like that. So always possibilities for projects like this. This one was made out of harder materials, so it does have some burn mark in it. The material I have today that we're going to be making one out of is pine. So really cool. And with the compound cutting method, I hope it goes without saying that your table saw and scroll saw needs to be perfectly dialed in. The table saw for, of course, milling down the thickness of the material, and then the scroll saw for the actual cutting of the parts on the box. And as I said, this is a very small piece to hold here. Now I am comfortable and confident in my scrolling abilities to hold a piece of material this small while the scroll saw is running, but if you are not and you want to have a little bit more of a handhold on a piece like this, you can use what is called a compound cutting jig, and that's what this is here. And it's two pieces of all thread, some pieces of wood with some lock nuts and wing nuts that will allow you to clamp down on the box like that to give you more of a handhold on the material. I have used this in the past, I just have not used it on camera. If you guys would like to see me using this on camera in a future video, please let me know down in the comments. A very good friend of mine in New York made that jig for me, and I thank him for it. The project today is going to come from a piece of pine that was given to me, and this is a huge chunk of pine, and I've already got it partially milled down, and all that's left to do now so we can get started is to get a copy of the box's pattern here. So let's move the camera over to the scanner and get started. And over here at the printer, we will quickly photocopy the pattern out of the magazine to its full size. And I must admit, I love having a printer and copier out in the workshop to where I can keep the workflow going and quickly photocopy patterns like this. But now we will move over to the workbench and take a sharp X-Acto knife and a straight edge and cut out the pattern. And I'm trying to be as loyal to that line when I cut it out as I can be, because we are compound cutting and we want everything to line up. And I will carefully fold the pattern on the dotted line and make that fold nice and crisp. And then we will head over to the table saw to finish cutting out our blanks. And I had partially cut this piece of pine stock to its correct dimensions off camera, but I cut out the final blank here. And I went ahead and cut out two of the blanks because I know I'll make more of these puzzle boxes off camera. They're just so much fun to make. And back over at the workbench, I will select my blank and I will attach the pattern with clear packing tape. And keep in mind, we are cutting out through a thick amount of stock here, so the clear packing tape will help lubricate the scroll saw blade and prevent burn marks. But once the pattern is attached, we will head over to the scroll saw and begin scrolling. and I will double check to make sure that my scroll saw is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees, and we will begin scrolling. We begin by cutting the bottom of the box off, and then we will set it aside. And keep in mind, this is a very slow cut, and it's very essential to take your time and let the blade do the work. Now I am cutting out that heart-shaped key, and I'll be careful to keep up with that. And now we will remove the lid of the box. And I am still using the same standard number 5 ultra reverse tooth blades that I always use because of some of the tighter turns in this project for the puzzle feature that the box has. Again, it's just a very, very slow cut. But once the lid is removed, we can trace out where we are going to hollow out the inside of the box. And before we can do that, we need to move over to the drill press and drill out a pilot hole so we can thread the blade in. And then I will go back to the scroll saw and we will cut out the interior of the box. And then all of the scroll saw work will be complete. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. And again, I'm still using that same number 5 blade. The magazine did suggest you used a number 7 blade, but I do not have none of those on hand, so I went with the number 5 blades, and as always, took my time and let the blade do the work. But now we can remove the waste wood, and again, all of our scroll saw work is complete. And after removing all of the tape that's left, we can proceed to gluing the bottom of the box back on after cleaning up all of that sawdust. And I will use basic medium grade CA glue and activator. If you want to use wood glue, you totally can. CA glue just allows me to move right along. And I will line the box up and press it home and spray it with activator, and I will leave it for around 5 minutes to make sure that CA glue is completely cured. And then I will go through several phases of sanding, and I am sanding by hand here with several grits of sandpaper and sanding sponges. And when you're sanding, just be careful to hold on to that heart-shaped key because you do not want it to fall out and lose it. But I will just round over all of the corners and sharp edges here, as well as the inside of the box itself. And once I am satisfied with everything, I will put the box back together and finish it with several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss, and the project will be complete. And here we have the completed miniature compound cut puzzle box, cut out from start to finish completely on the scroll saw, and it finished up amazingly well. Once again, showing off the scroll saw's uniqueness and versatility for making very cool and unique projects. Once again, thank you to Carl Taylor for the amazing design from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine. Of course, this one today was cut out of pine. You can cut these out of different materials. I just think the harder materials will be a little bit more tedious to cut out because of the thickness of material you're cutting out here. Speaking of that, it takes around 30 minutes to scroll this out from start to finish, so please keep that in mind, because you are not only cutting through this thickness of the blank, you are cutting through this thickness as well to release the lid and the bottom of the box. And you do not want that scroll saw blade, I'm going to show you here, to warp in the material. Now, if you're taking your time and letting the blade do the work, that blade will just flow through the material as it's supposed to. But if you start forcing that blade in there, it will start doing this, what's called warping, and that's curving in the material, so your cut is going to be curved. And what will ultimately happen is it will rob your box's ability to come apart once you get the cut done, because with that curved cut it will permanently lock in there and you won't be able to get your box apart. So very important to take your time and let the blade do the work. This box here comes apart just like the one I showed you at the beginning. You remove the heart-shaped key and then the lid slides out and you have the cavity within, and it comfortably holds my dragon bracelet there as well as my other bracelets. It could hold a few dollars in there if you wanted to give this to a little one for a birthday party and then them have a unique keepsake after they spend the money. And with the nature of it having a heart for the locking feature here, the mechanism, this could also be a very heartfelt box if you wanted to put a special ring in there and give it to a loved one. But really, really cool. Of course, this one is cut out of pine. The original one I made was made out of a harder material, and I finished all three of them. I'll show you the third one here with Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And for a puzzle that isn't really appropriate, you really need something like a Danish oil to where you can dip the whole piece down in it and it really saturate everything and get in all the nooks and crannies. Rust-Oleum clear gloss is just what I stock to finish all my scroll saw projects with, but I want to get some Danish oil because I'd like to make a bunch more of these because they're so easy to make. They just take a little bit of time and effort over on the scroll saw. And the third one I made, I went the extra mile. If you have access to a laser engraver or you have a friend that does, they can engrave the lids of the boxes. Now this one was also made out of pine. I just engraved the top of it and then stained it and then finished it with the clear coat for just an added feature and unique look to it. And that has the North Carolina Woodworker logo on there with the website. I just took careful measurements and engraved it to make sure I didn't interfere with the heart-shaped key there. And this one here will be a raffle prize, so some lucky person will end up with this in their possession. So really, really cool. I did not do the project though completely from start to finish as it's intended in the article here, and I will show you this. Right here is a picture of the completed one that Carl Taylor did, and you see the key is removed and the lid is slid back, but there is another lid under it. I felt that was unnecessary to do because in this video I just wanted to give you guys the confidence to hopefully go out into your workshops and make one of these puzzle boxes without overcomplicating it, if that makes any sense. But by all means, the article is full here with step-by-step guides. If you want to add that secondary lid to it, there is a better picture of one together, apart, and then completely apart there just to show you what I'm talking about, as well as the full-size pattern. Speaking of the magazine, if you do have the confidence to try this pattern, it's available in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. Spring 2009, issue 34, so it's a very old magazine, as I said. And if you do not have access to the magazine, Fox Chapel Publishing offers the amazing archival disc that has the issues loaded on there in beautiful PDF formats to where you can just sit and print out the patterns that you want to try. So always a great option to keep the patterns. And again, if you are uncomfortable holding a piece of material this small and cutting it out over on the scroll saw, you can always make yourself a compound cutting jig here to where you will have more of a handhold when over at your scroll saw. But once again, today's video hopefully has inspired you to go out in your workshops and try to make one of these. One option that I would do if I was going to go into production mode into making these puzzle boxes was over at the table saw. I would probably go on and rip the piece to where the bottom came off. That would just save a step over on the scroll saw, if that makes any sense. But with a project like this, I hope it goes without saying that your table saw and scroll saw need to be perfectly dialed in and be at a perfect 90-degree angle to make sure the puzzle feature works, as well as taking your time and letting the blade do the work. But that's about all for this one. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social medias will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one. And remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.